Hey everybody, it's Michael from Replica Airguns with a video I'm entitling BB Guns versus Pellet Guns. Now I have talked about BB gun ammo versus pellet gun ammo, and there's a bit of a crossover in terms of this video and that video. I'm going to be talking about some of the same things, but this is a really common question that comes up. A lot of people are asking what the differences are, what's best, all those kinds of things. So I'm going to hopefully sum up a lot of this information pretty quickly. I've written it all out, so this will be pretty much read off the page, but it's going to get all this information out as quickly and efficiently as possible so that you understand it. Plus I'll have a written version over on my website that you can just go and read as well. Sometimes reading is a little bit better than listening. You might absorb more information. So I'll put a link to the Replica Airguns website where I have this video all written out for you. Alright, BB guns are not airsoft guns, and I do have a BB gun versus airsoft gun video where I talk about the differences in ammo, but let's quickly look. Here's an airsoft BB versus a standard BB, right? So you can see they're different, right? One is metal, right, and smaller, 4.5 millimeter. One is plastic, 6 millimeter, right? Obviously you can tell the difference. Alright, getting back to BB guns versus pellet guns. They're the same but different. So generally speaking, a BB CO2 pistol and a Pellet CO2 pistol are very similar. They just shoot a bit different types of ammo that will determine a couple of mechanical differences in both guns. You may come across a CO2 pistol that can shoot both pellets and BBs, but these are not as common. Magazine types. Now we'll give you some examples in a bit. The first main difference is usually the magazine design. Since lead pellets don't stack on top of each other very well compared to steel BBs, Action CO2 BB and Pellet Pistols will have very different types of magazine designs. Pellet CO2 Pistols will generally use a rotary type magazine, while BB pistols will use a stick or stacked ammo magazine. Let's take a quick look here. Okay, so we'll grab a pellet pistol, and that always happens. Here's a rotary magazine, okay? And you see it fits kind of right up top. Very common for them to just go right up there. Okay. Now this particular one, you put the CO2 down here, but there is no ammo in the actual lower magazine. This is the CO2 magazine. It's kind of unique that way. A lot of them don't do that. Now here is another rotary pellet magazine, but it's actually a stick magazine in a sense that it's a stick shaped, but it actually has these rotary sections on the top. Right? Pellets don't stack well, so even though this is a stick magazine, it needs to be rotary on either end. Okay? Now, in terms of BB magazines, here we have just a standard stick magazine where just the BBs go in it. They load in. Right? Now this one, you just load them in there, and they just fill up this sort of, not really a tube, but this area here, the trough, and the follower pushes them up out the top into the gun. Right? Here's a full size, not a stick mag, but it's a dropout metal magazine. But again, same concept. The BBs, basically in this case, you'd load them in the top, they'd come down the channel here. The follower pushes them up, right? This particular one has the CO2 in the magazine, making it a little bit more realistic. And one more example, another full size dropout metal magazine. You can actually see where the CO2 goes here. But again, you get this follower. Right? Now you could put the BBs in the bottom and go and they drop up the channel that way, or you could load them through the top. But again, this follower, spring follower, pushes the BBs up into the gun. Like a traditional real steel pistol would do. They'd have a similar magazine where the BBs, or sorry, the BBs in a real gun, it would be ammunition, it would be rounds, bullets that would stack in the magazine and be pushed up by a spring system with a follower. Now in terms of realism, a stick or stacked magazine is better suited than a rotary magazine, as we saw through the examples I just showed you. Some Action Pellet Pistols will have what looks like a stick magazine, but the stick will actually have two rotary magazines on either end, and I showed you that too with the PX4 Storm here. You will often find higher capacity magazines in BB CO2 pistols, since rotary magazines usually only offer around 8 rounds, with the exception of the stick magazine here, which had 8 on each end. But you do have to eject the magazine, spin it around, pop it back in to shoot the second set of 8 rounds. Another downside to rotary magazines is knowing when you are out of ammo. A rotary magazine does not allow for this. It will just keep turning around and around no matter if there's ammo in it or not. So you need to listen to the sound of the CO2 gun to determine when a rotary type magazine is empty. The tone will actually change. BB action shooters do not have this problem, since in most cases the magazine BB spring follower acts exactly the same as a real steel follower, locking back the slide on the last shot. So this magazine is empty. What happens when the slide goes back? It locks, okay? So we can't take a shot, right? Because it's out of ammo. If there were ammo in it, the slide would continue to move back and forth. But because we're out, it locks back. That's very common on most BB guns that have a spring system, but not all. Ammo size. Steel BBs traditionally only come in the 4.5 millimeter sizes, which is the same as .177 caliber. So with lead pellets, they are determined by caliber generally, not millimeter, but they're basically the same diameter. So .177 caliber and 4.5 millimeter, again, the same. Now lead pellets can come in a myriad of sizes, the most common being .177, .20, and .22 caliber, but they can go as large as 50 caliber for some PCP air rifles used to hunt even large game. So let's take a quick look. Here we have a couple pellets. We have a .177, we have a .22. These are really the most common ones. We'll add this BB to the picture, and you can see here that the diameter of these two is very similar. And then you have your larger pellet. And again, there's lots of different sizes of pellets available. Barrel rifling. Another common difference between BB and pellet CO2 pistols is the rifling inside the barrels. Lead pellets need to spin in order for them to shoot straight. Steel BBs, on the other hand, can fly pretty true through the air whether they spin or not. Rifling is most often not used in steel BB pistols because the hardened steel BBs can damage the rifling, and since there is little to no benefit in adding rifling to a BB gun's barrel in terms of accuracy, then why even have it? Pellet pistols with their softer lead ammunition need to have the rifling in order to create the spin that keeps the pellet true and straight while in flight. Otherwise it would tumble through the air. So let's take a quick look, see if I can show you some rifling. Probably the best way to do that is to show you this gun here, and we'll see if we can get in there. Yeah, I think we can see it. See the rifling in there? Okay, that helps the pellet spin. I can't really show you too much on the BB guns. Maybe I can. Let's see if I can show you with this guy. Maybe we can get in there and show you that there isn't any rifling. Kind of hard to see, but there is no rifling. Trying to get that light in there, but there is no rifling in there. Okay, maybe a little bit of hop up. Hop up, haven't really discussed it, but hop up on, and you will find hop up even on some BB pistols, because a lot of BB pistols are basically modified from airsoft, and hop up is a little rubber piece that basically goes on the top part of the barrel, and that little bit of rubber will create backspin on the BB, giving it spin and lift, but not so much for accuracy, just to keep the BB elevation level. Hunting and or pest control. In most cases, I do not recommend using a pistol for pest control because, plain and simple, they are harder to shoot accurately. This is because there is no stock on a pistol to help steady the gun, like you'd find on a rifle, and the front and rear sight are much closer together on a pistol than compared to rifle sights, which means there's more margin for error when sighting in the target. Pistols are generally lower powered than rifles, which also plays a role when considering a pistol for pest control, since it may not have enough power to get the job done humanely. That said, there are pellet pistols designed with power in mind. Usually these are spring piston or pressurized air powered air guns, which can have a lot more power than a standard CO2 BB or pellet pistol. Pistols versus rifles. Now this is not the forum for a full pistol versus rifle comparison. I can tell you that you will find a lot more pellet rifles than you will find BB rifles. They both exist, but for the most part, rifles are geared more towards target shooting and hunting. Most of the BB rifles available would be styled after replicas So the focus is not necessarily on power and or accuracy in these models. Abundance. In terms of replica action shooters, BB pistols outweigh the pellet pistols by a landslide. BBs just work better in action pistols because the round, hard steel ammo operates much easier and more reliably than the softer lead pellets, at least for action shooters. And the point of replica action shooters is not so much power and accuracy, but more so towards rapid fire, good old backyard fun shooting. Now, which is best? That's always the question. Well, neither one is best. It really just depends which one you're looking for. Do you want accuracy at longer ranges? Well, if so, maybe get a Pellet CO2 pistol. Do you want more realism in terms of magazine loading and your slide locking back on the last shot? Then you may be in the market for a BB CO2 pistol. Do you want more power down range? Well, heavy pellets are going to hit harder and truer than lighter steel BBs. Do you want trouble-free shooting? Hard steel BBs rarely misfeed and misfire compared to softer lead pellets, especially in action shooters. Now, the best is what's best for you, and not always what's best for me. So if you ask me what you should get, I really don't know. You need to do your research. You need to look at a lot of the different options out there. What I like in a gun and what you like in a gun are going to be two completely different things. Some people like blowback. Some people don't like blowback. Some people like the stick magazines. Some people prefer the rotary magazines and loading the pellets. They just prefer that. They prefer the accuracy. They like shooting a heavier round. Whatever. Everybody has their own preference. That's what I'm trying to say. And my preference is not your preference. Alright. Thanks for watching another Replica Airguns video. Don't forget to subscribe. Check me out on Facebook and Twitter. Username is Replica Airguns. Don't forget to come on down to replicaAirguns.com where we have written articles, reviews, posts, photos of different guns, things like that. Of course, again, I have this video all written out for you guys if you want to read it. I've also got some illustrations there too. We also have our Canada and US online Replica Airgun stores where we sell air guns, airsoft guns, BB guns, pellet guns, blank guns, knives, and other accessories. Thanks for watching. Until next time, take care.